I work at an ice rink, and I saw something that will haunt me forever. I know I should feel lucky to have a job that keeps me cool during a brutally hot summer, especially one as laid back as working at an ice rink. But lately, I've been thinking about quitting. There's something about that place that creeps me out more than I can explain. I was on the hunt for a summer job, and to my surprise, barely anyone seemed interested in the ice rink position. Right after my interview, I was scheduled to start. The pay wasn't much to brag about, but the responsibilities were pretty basic. Assist customers, clean up when needed, restock the bathrooms, that kind of thing. But there was one main rule we all had to follow as a team. Keep the rink temperature below freezing, no exceptions. It made sense. After all, it's an ice rink, not a slip and slide. Every so often, I'd walk over to the thermostat to ensure it stayed between 19 and 29 degrees. That kept the ice solid and the main area perfectly frosty. A chilly little retreat in the middle of town. My manager was the public face of the place, usually out front helping customers or tucked away in his office. But whenever he walked past the rink, he'd always check the temperature, sometimes just minutes after I already had. One afternoon, I showed up a few minutes late and caught him rushing toward the thermostat. He seemed a little startled when he noticed me there. "Have you seen anyone around yet?" he asked. I glanced at the clock. We were still nearly an hour from opening. "No, not yet," I told him. "Good," he said with a nod and a smile. Then he asked me to help with setting up a new arcade machine. It was huge, dual seats, a massive screen, booming speakers. The delivery guys had rolled it in earlier, so now it was just a matter of plugging it in. I connected the power cord and powered it up. The screen lit up, the speakers blared, and then everything went black. Total power outage. I looked toward the rink and saw my boss sprinting to the breaker box. The girl working the concession stand dropped everything and vanished into the kitchen. I left the arcade to apologize, but that's when I noticed something awful, a rotten, pungent odor, like spoiled meat left out for days. It was so foul I could taste it. I assumed it came from the kitchen. My manager was at the back, frantically working the breaker. "Wiring's all messed up," he muttered. "One bad connection, and the whole place shuts down." He flipped a few switches, and the machines buzzed back to life. He closed the box and wiped the sweat from his brow. "It's just an old building," he said with a half laugh. Then he checked the thermostat and stood by the rink until the doors opened. That nasty smell faded by the time guests arrived, but I still noticed it clinging to my clothes when I got home. A few days later, my boss had errands to run, so it was just me and the concession girl holding down the fort. Things were smooth at first, until a group of kids came up from the arcade. They said the new machine wasn't working properly. The screen kept freezing, and their quarters weren't being returned. My boss had briefly shown me how to reset the machines, so I went to check it out. It took longer than I'd care to admit. I was hesitant to unplug the cabinet and reboot it, but I tried everything to fix it. I figured if I needed to refund a few quarters, it wouldn't be a big deal. As I worked, I suddenly noticed I was sweating. I'd dressed warmly, since the main area stays cold, but now I was uncomfortably hot. I told the kids I'd be right back, then casually made my way to the thermostat. 30 degrees. Still below freezing. I returned to the arcade, realizing the AC was probably the issue. It was scorching outside, and our cooling system was clearly struggling. Eventually, I got the game working and went to grab lunch from concessions. The late afternoon crowd rolled in, and and I barely had time to breathe. With my boss gone, I was juggling rentals, bathroom checks, and babysitting the arcade machine. I didn't get a break until we closed. After shutting off the lights and flipping the sign to closed, I remembered I hadn't checked the rink's temperature in hours. I went to do that before leaving. 35 degrees. Not ideal, but not a crisis. I adjusted the setting and waited as the system began pushing more coolant through the ice. I was about to head for the door when I noticed someone down the hallway near the restrooms. I jumped, but more out of surprise than fear. "We're closed," I called out. "Time to lock up." No response. The figure just stood there. "You need to use the bathroom first?" I figured maybe he wasn't feeling well. Concession food can do that. Then he turned toward me. The hallway was dim, lit only by the red exit sign above me. His head was hanging low, his body slack, and his expression blank, like he was standing there in a trance. As he looked up, I noticed something was wrong. His face wasn't right. The more I looked, the more I thought it looked fake, like someone was wearing a loose-fitting mask. His cloudy eyes were definitely locked onto me. I shivered. A deep, unnatural cold ran through me, not the Rink's chill, something worse. A fear that went all the way into my bones. Then he vanished. I looked around, but the hallway was empty. I didn't even bother checking the restrooms. I grabbed my things and left in a hurry. The next day, I told my boss what I saw. He listened without interrupting, then took a moment before replying. "What'd he look like?" he asked. I described the lifeless expression, the vacant eyes. Even remembering it gave me chills. Was his outfit kind of old-fashioned? I thought back. He had on a suit, yeah. The lapels were too wide, and the pants had a weird flare to them. It didn't strike me at the time, but now that he mentioned it. "Maybe," I said. My boss nodded. "Did the rink go above freezing yesterday?" "It did," I admitted. "But I adjusted it before I left." "Keep an eye on it," he said, heading back to his office. "You'll see folks like that around here sometimes. Just stay on top of the rink." I glanced over at the girl behind the counter. She'd overheard. We locked eyes briefly, but she said nothing and returned to work. We were opening soon, and the heat was sure to drive people our way. It's been a brutal summer. When the heat's high, everyone cranks their air conditioning. That puts pressure on the power grid. Yesterday, we pushed it too far. Power went out across downtown. My boss ran outside to get the generator going and told me to keep everyone away from the rink. At first, customers stayed in the dining area, hoping the power would return. I didn't blame them. It was still cooler inside than outside. But over time, the chill faded. The air grew muggy. Eventually, everyone left, except for me and the concession girl. My boss was still fiddling with the generator, and I hoped he'd just send us home. She stepped out to ask him. I noticed the air was getting heavy and humid, so I checked the thermostat. It had a backup battery, so it was still working. 40 degrees. And rising fast. I stood with my back to the rink when I felt something shift behind me. That same foul, decaying stench filled the air again, more potent in the humidity. My legs trembled. I bolted for the door. In my panic, I decided to cut across the rink. Big mistake. I slipped almost instantly, falling hard on my back. That's when I saw them. Dozens of corpses stood silently on the ice. Their bodies were mangled, bloodied, their faces frozen in expressions of agony. Some looked crushed, others beaten. Every last one of them was staring at me with cold, empty eyes. I screamed and scrambled, slipping over and over, desperate to crawl across the ice. Somehow, I reached the far side and stumbled through the exit. My coworker's car was gone. She had the right idea. I didn't even lock the door behind me. I didn't go in today. I called my boss and told him everything. He didn't argue or ask for details. It was like he already knew. "You know that gravel lot down the street?" he asked. "There used to be an office building there. Collapsed years ago. I was a kid when it happened. A lot of people didn't make it." I had never heard the full story. The tragedy overwhelmed the local morgue, so they stored bodies in the ice rink to preserve them until they could be moved or identified. That's what I saw. And now that I know, it only makes it worse. I really don't want to go back tomorrow. If this story sent chills down your spine, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that bell icon so you never miss another eerie tale from Spooky Tales. Thanks for watching. Stay curious and stay scared.